Welcome to a new episode of The Workplace Shift. Today we will share one of our assignments with you because we created in a self-organized environment change from the bottom up. Listen in to find out more.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining. Today I want to talk about organizational structure in the new age of work and some forms of organizational structure. And I was thinking today we're going to talk a little bit about community management and how you build a community, and that an organization these days in complex environment is more like a biological organism than a hierarchically structured way or form you have in the organization. So what I mean by this, we have org charts and big organizations, there's a matrix organizations, etc. pp. But when you look on safe, scaled, agile frameworks, they suggest to you that for initiatives and endeavors, you kind of build a startup-like form next to it, which looks more like a circle, And when I'm thinking about this, I'm also thinking about the current initiative you're doing. So what you're doing, you are in a research organization and you're bringing together multiple parts within the organization. They are in different functions and different levels, and they report to different lines, and you have a common goal. You want to make data understanding more accessible or more mature. Let's put it that way simply. Hope that was correct. And now you need to drive responsibility in there. You need to motivate the people and you need to bring them along to work on a common goal. And you don't have someone who can say, you have to do this. You have to motivate them, inspire them to go on there, right? So first of all, did I summarize correctly what you're doing, or do you want to add something on the initiative?
I would love to add something. The reason why we are currently in times where we say, oh no, we have to move away from hierarchical structures and look at different different org structures, is because we need to, because we are in such complex environments that we cannot control the needs of the markets anymore to be able to do this with a hierarchical structure where we have the people that think and the people that decide at the top and the people that execute at the bottom. Yeah. So we shift that around and say, okay, no, as you said, we have these startup-like groups that work on a topic and find the way to solve that topic, and then others in parallel do that for other problems that we're facing. And what is a challenge that comes with it is it was great in the hierarchy. It was clear who takes decisions. And it's oftentimes what I've seen unclear in self-organizing environments, who gets to take decisions for the larger parts of the organization. And often there's a void, and we expect some manager to say, okay, no, that's the direction, I decide we want to do this, let's implement it that way. And what comes with it is stagnation, that nothing happens. And that's also the reason, in my case, why we had to think about different ways to approach the problem and to bring change forwards and implement change.
Before we go there, so what you're saying is that the matrix organization or the hierarchical organization helped people to know where and who is the decision maker for which problem, which process, etc. So do we say that we maybe need the matrix organization still for this, and we execute more in these teams? Does both structures have their say in organizational design, or would you say, no, organizational chart is dead, matrix is dead?
I'm not a big fan of dismantling the middle management and just sticking with the top layer and then say, okay, no, organize yourselves, and we have squads and whatever, and they have to figure it out on their own, because it just ends in chaos. And I think that middle management has their right to be there and they have a function. It's not like they are just the managers who get all the money and who don't do anything and we can do that all on our own. Yeah. I think this is what happens when the managers don't fill their role correctly. But oftentimes you have people who really care about people in their team and about their company and want to evolve that company, bring it forwards, and these are the middle managers. And just dismantling this is setting you back. So I'm a fan of mixing it up and really say, okay, no, it's not the one or the other, especially in big corporations. So it's helpful if you have a middle layer, a middle management, when it's clear who takes decisions for what. And then you have underneath that, you can have squads and self-organizing teams. It's not the one or the other. You have to find what works for your company and don't follow just a blueprint.
And it's also interesting to look at the value stream perspective or the process perspective. So, for example, in SAFE, we have this saying we want to do a value chain analysis. So from the customer request, from what the customer gets, it's like there's a value chain and there's supporting processes. So I almost feel like we have the matrix organization, then we have the squads which are executing, and we have the value stream or the business processes which tell us where can we generate value for the customer, right? So we balance these three out, and we need to be aware of some of these, and sometimes they're more clear, sometimes they're less clear, right? All right, so now what you're doing is you have an initiative, you work with different people from the functions, and then you build a supporting group or kind of a focus group to carry that out. Or how does it work?
So we had this organizational problem, or this, let's say we wanted to change the organization and get everyone in the organization to be interested in learning and evolving. Also in topics that are considered to be boring, like when new regulations come along, to be interested in, okay, what do they encompass? Or how do I work correctly with data, in my case? And a long time it was like waiting for management to decide on the path to take and to go forward, and this didn't happen. So it's a self-organized environment, and instead we said, okay, what do we do then? We need to be able to take with us every part of the organization, and it's not sufficient to have one team in the center who gives out guidance and stuff for the organization, because on the one hand it's overkill. You don't have the resources for all of it, and on the other one you don't know which is really needed in each part of the organization. You don't know the exact questions that arise on a day-to-day basis. So what we did in our case is we created a community that works together on this topic, and we have a representative from each part of that organization. This representative got nominated by, you could say, a middle management layer, and they transferred this piece of responsibility over to that person. And you said before, and now we have to motivate them. No, that's not the case, because you don't want to have to motivate people. You want to have the people that are already on fire for the topic and join your community with this. And we're really lucky because in our case it's really a live community. People come together because they are already on fire for the topic, because these are the problems that they are faced with on a daily basis, and now they get a chance to say, hey, we need a solution for that. Do you face the same? Let's work on it. Let's get it done. And what I love is that at the end of our meetings, normally people scatter away and everyone goes back to their job, back to the next meeting. And in our case, oftentimes we still have people standing around in groups and talking about the topics, seeing how they could help each other further, share something that they elaborated at one point with others. It's really such a rich experience.
So you generate momentum as well with this community calls, right? And I feel it's also in change management, sometimes we try to make people do something or an organizational change, but you said they're already on fire about this topic. They want to do something. And most likely you have these isolated problems already somewhere in the organization. Someone is mad about it, someone doesn't like it, someone wants to change it. But once you have this initiative, you kind of get a vehicle to carry them out. So in more concrete speak, it's like you said, we want to make the organization more data literate, for example, and someone heard this, oh, there's someone creating a community around it. Oh, I heard about a problem here. I heard about a problem there. And then you generate this, I don't know, like stream and energy around it. It's what you're describing is basically energy. Like people get energy around this and see, oh, I'm not alone in this. I have other people I can talk to, and this is really what I think community is, right?
I also consider it a bit of marketing. So it's you position your topic with your community, like on a market within your company itself. So you make it visible what you do, which value you're creating, and you put faces to the topic with the community members. And that, of course, creates like a buzz. All of a sudden, people understand which people work on that. And they understand, okay, it seems to be an important topic when we have in each department one person that cares about it.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So you mentioned transparency. I find this very interesting because, I'm a little bit curious about blockchains and decentralized organizations, and I feel we sometimes still navigate in this old world. In the big companies, in this world of blockchain, what's happening is that before a product or a chain is released, there is a lot of work going into community building, into raising, is there an interest, is there a problem? So it's similar to me in the organization that you say, oh, we just give them a space to share. And as you say, like this picture you have, do you have pictures? Who is responsible for this, and who can I talk to? How do you handle this, that people have like a place to exchange? I mean, other than the community calls, do you have a forum? Do you have a space, a G site, or how do you do that?
So we meet in the community once a month. And before that, you can raise your hand and say, hey, I have a topic that I want to be discussed. And also we have in between a G space, so a chat forum where we're together and where we can share topics in between that require an immediate response or cannot wait till the next meeting, or we didn't have time to cover. That mostly, and of course we meet individually just to stay in touch and kind of cultivate relationships.
And it sounds like you're getting a big topic done over time with the help of experts and individuals within the organization, right? Because it's not something which you can, thinking about this, because in AI strategy or in strategy development, we say like, oh, we want the organization to become more data literate. But what I'm hearing is that it's still the leeway is the people. Like you have to do it with the people. Of course, you will create maybe training materials and things, but it's not that there's a switch and say, now we're data literate. We still have to create this momentum with them, right? So you seem to be successful with this, and it seems to be a lot of fun.
And I would say it's a journey. So you cannot, in the beginning, box what you're going to deliver.
Okay.
And then say, okay, now I need people from all parts of the organization, and they will create this box and everything in between, and then we're done. Mm-hmm. So this evolves over time as well. Then you see, okay, no, these are really the topics that we should be working on. Yep. Let's just drop what we thought would be important and what we need, mm-hmm. and focus on that and go along. Because what we tend to forget is that the world keeps on turning while we're working on something. Mm-hmm. So we shouldn't be too focused on sticking to a plan that we did a couple of months back, and have the courage to adapt it and make sure that we're working on the right topics.
So it sounds like these people scattered across the organization are also responsible for having the pulse on what is currently important in their organization and feed that back to the whole group to say, guys, maybe we need to reprioritize. Huh? So you come together and say, okay, we work on this topic. Would you say these are use cases you're working on, or is this problems, or?
Well, we call them cases or use cases.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But of course you have to differentiate, because not everything that gets brought to your attention is at the right place there. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's something that the top management has to address. Then you can only make them aware, but it's not you that has the power to solve everything. Mm-hmm. Or it might be where you need a new software for a problem, but you're not the software team in that case, because you're about to write guidance.
Yeah.
So make sure that this gets into the right channel so that it gets addressed.
I feel this is also, it may be a topic for another episode, but getting something changed in the organization, and especially these problem areas, is more than dropping the pen, right? It's like you say, you have to, for some of these use cases, you have to get the mandate from the management. For some of these use cases, you maybe have to set up a project, or as you say, speak with the IT team, the delivery team, the marketing team. So how much are you facilitating this, and where do you say, I let go? I mean, our responsibility is to bring this out, and maybe you say, okay, you are responsible for this now, or are you really helping them through?
It's interesting that you mentioned the mandate and stuff, because we created the community because of this void of management power that I depicted in the first place. And we just said, oh no, if they say that we're self-organized, let's just see how far we get with that.
Mm-hmm.
And we created the community, and people came together, and then they were ready to go, and we started. And then at one point it was like, I invest a serious amount of time in this initiative, and my manager needs to see why I'm doing this. So we need a mandate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically, we were creating the pressure bottom up to create the mandate. And then we needed the management to chime in and give us the mandate so that the people could continue working on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But basically, it wouldn't have happened. This momentum needed to be created by the bottom-up initiative.
Yeah.
And just seeing, okay, how far can we go? It was an experiment. It was interesting to see, yeah.
And I guess this is also something in the new age of work, is we need to get this pressure, this mandate. No, sorry, we need to get the polls as well, right? So what you're saying is, you created this buzz in the organization, you created this noise, positive noise, and then, okay, I think we need to do something around this. I feel sometimes people try to do it the other way around, like, oh, we have to do some slides and some road shows, and we have to do a strategy paper. But if there's something really important, maybe it's just to listen to the people in the organization and to give them a space. And then you can pick it up. But also thinking outside, like the organization, wouldn't it be interesting to do this with the customers?
How do you mean?
Like, for example, when you do product development, you say also that you should be very customer centric. I feel that when we have these topics, like we want to become more data literate, it's more like an organizational capability, right? But then, what is the customer side of this? Like, would you create customer products for them, or is it solely like an internal skill development, so to speak, right? So,
I mean, in my case, we are a research organization, and we're not at the right place to talk about customer data. That comes further along.
Okay. So basically, this is maybe if someone has a kind of is closer to the customer, they would maybe also involve the customer at some point.
Which I'm sure they do.
Discover research, yes, maybe something like this. Okay, no, that was just a thought of this. So if I'm thinking about this, and I have, for example, I'm a team manager and have this initiative, I want to go and I want to change something in the whole organization. Where do I start? Like, do I organize the people with a call with 20 people and then say let's go, or how would you go along with that?
Well, in the center, you need one person who cares for the topic and who wants to take over the accountability for it and responsibility, and to resolve it in one way.
And when you say center, you mean in classic terms in the management?
No, I mean at the center of the topic.
In the center of the topic.
I was not hierarchically speaking.
Okay.
You need one person in the organization who says, no, I see that we have little fires everywhere with this problem, and it's at the core of my heart, I want to get it resolved.
Okay, you're a passionate person.
I'm going forward, and I'm starting to create this change. Okay. And then you need, you can go one by one. You collect people that are like-minded, who have a similar passion and who want to work with you. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's like Jesus and his disciples. So you go and look for people that care for the same stuff, and you do it together.
I hate the term in change management evangelists, but it's sometimes when I did change management projects, they say we have to find evangelists for this topic. I don't hate the term itself. I hate the term for this topic, but it's basically find advocates who are passionate for the topic as well within the organization.
And when I hear change management, I often think about that you have to make people burn for something that they don't really see necessary.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why you have to reinforce it with messages and messages and messages.
Yeah.
So they see the need for it. So I don't like that way of working.
Yeah.
If there is really a need and people stick up to it and say, no, we need to get it resolved and I'm going to start now, I think that's something different. And it's not change management that you need to manage anything around it. Yeah.
So basically, if I'm a new CEO, I'm coming and I have seen my management team has created a slide with these 5 strategy pillars and 5 strategic problems. What I could do is I could say I find 5 people who are really passionate about this and I start this community approach on some of this and get it done.
Yes, but you wouldn't do it yourself. You would give it back to the management that came and say, okay, you take this pillar, you take this pillar.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Go do it.
But are we saying revolutionary thinking, that we need to revolutionize what you said, this old change management thinking, and we go back more to this, we engage with the people, we create this community, we use the network effect basically to roll out change more naturally, and whatever doesn't come up, it's maybe not important enough at the moment?
I would say this is an experiment.
Yeah.
This is how far it has grown. This was successful, but I don't know how far this will go, if this can really impact the entire organization.
Mm-hmm. We don't know yet.
So I would say this is an interesting idea. See if you can apply it to your case. It's not a blueprint that will fit everything and everyone, and I'm not guaranteeing you success with it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it worked in that case for this group, and I'm certain you can take some ideas from it and see if that applies for you as well. But it's not a one-fits-all approach.
And I love that you mentioned this center of excellence approach, which we had a couple of years back, where you build center of excellence, like a middle group who's providing guidance to everyone, you know. Very resource intensive, can work, but...
Oh, I had this in other companies where they had the center of excellence to basically solve the innovation question. So,
me too, yeah.
We need to be more innovative. We need to have new products. So we create the center of excellence and have people that care about some topic come together and just talk for an hour a week. And let's just hope that they create some very cool new innovative products coming from it. I've never seen it work. Did you?
No. And it's like, this is the concept of decentralization. So what you said to me today, and also I 100% agree, is people are work in their day-to-day lives on problems, and they have kind of a job description. If you have a giantist, what is a giantist? You have a scientist there, they have to kind of create research, and they have to create outputs, etc. If you want them to innovate, you need to get them space to innovate, right? And you use this community the same way. You find the people who are working together on a topic which they anyway work on, so it doesn't feel like an additional topic. You cannot say you have to create an innovative product. It's a mindset, it's a thinking, it's creativity, etc. Yeah. And on center of excellence, I realized, for example, agile center of excellence. So you had a company, there was a center of excellence, and everybody should like go there if they had a question about agile. But agile is a mindset that has to be used in the organization. In the organization, it has to be delivered. Of course, it works for training. You need someone to organize the training, etc. That's clear, right? So you have a clear training center, but
yeah, then you don't have a training center. You have a department who takes care of
you have a department.
training.
And I believe in crowd intelligence. And if you have a company of, 2,500 people plus, there is certainly one person more intelligent than you. So you should never be like, you could never think that there's one or the expert. I mean, this is also not new work style, to be honest, right?
I think what also is an important factor, what I mentioned before, is that doing experiments. So being holistic in how you approach problems and giving the people a chance to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And how you do that is you could measure how many experiments teams have done.
Mm-hmm.
That's a KPI that shows, okay, you're supposed to try stuff out. So you're not measuring the success rate, you're measuring the experiments.
Yeah.
And I think that's crucial in the times that we're in, the complex times, to find new solutions. We cannot wait for the perfect path, the perfect concept to be developed, and then we just invest in that one. It will not, we don't have any certainty that we get to the solution that we want. So we have to give it some trial and error and hope that we are shorter there with this approach.
And it would also be interesting to see these kind of, for example, let's say a company takes this approach you described for 5 problems and they build a community. It would be very nice to send spies around, basically from one community to the other community, to learn from each other and to create visibility. Hey, what are you doing? What worked? What didn't work? And this is the kind of experiment you mentioned, right? And this is where real change can happen. And maybe one community will fail. One community it works, and for one topic, maybe you need a more rigid approach. Maybe you need to bring people together. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
And also, by definition, it's not a setup that works forever. So you get together to solve a problem. At one point, hopefully, you will have solved the problem and the community dissolves. But what often happens is that along the way, the community dissolves because it loses energy. And that is where I think it's important to have someone who's managing it, a community manager, who ensures that you have regular events, who puts together the agenda, who collects the topics, who talks to the people, who ensures that new members are onboarded properly. So someone that cares that the ball keeps rolling.
So when you say that the community is kind of a transitionary instrument to solve a problem, what is the final state? Like, let's say if you what organizational structure do you need to create or use to anchor the final state? Do you understand the question?
Yeah, so you come together, you create the community because you have a problem.
Yeah.
At one point you will realize there is less problems that you hear going in that direction.
Yep.
So the people that are in the community have less topics that they want to talk about.
Yes. So the interest goes down.
Not necessarily the interest, but the topics that you have to talk about.
Number of topics, okay.
The cases, let's say the cases.
Cases, yes, okay.
That you hear. You don't have so many. So then you have to ask yourself the question, why is it? Is it because my people are not motivated anymore? Or is it because something else is now more on their minds? Has a transition, and then, transition yourself.
So basically then you start to think about how can we create this organizational structure in the target operating model, basically. So, for example, if you generated a training on data literacy, what you're doing at the moment, then maybe this becomes standard part for everyone. Or you have a new role you create. It's more like anchoring this in the end, because like maybe 5 years from now, people will become less and the problem will arise again. So how do you make sure the problem doesn't raise up again if you dissolve the community?
Well, I hope you would have really sustainably solved the problem.
Okay.
And with that, you don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
But if it comes again, then you might need to create it again. But that's really, I would say that comes back to the world changes all of the time.
Okay.
So we cannot really think that the solution that we create today can get solved with the same measures 5 years from now.
All right. That's very interesting. Thank you so much, Karen. Anything else you want to say to our audience before we close?
I don't think so. Do you have anything on your mind?
No, I think I'm good. So what we're saying is let's get started with the community. If it's fitting for the problem, experiment, check in if it works or not, measure the success, and just get going with it. So thank you very much for listening today, and have a wonderful remaining week.